Now on to Kevin. So Kevin, you've been a fierce supporter of the Carry On Touring campaign in Parliament, working hard with the DCMS committee to put pressure on the government. What can you tell us about what's next for the committee's agenda, and where do you think the government is heading on this? I think you're on mute, Kevin.
That's not my fault. Somebody unmuted me, but happens all the time. Just last week we had the Secretary of State, Oliver Dowden, in front of the Select Committee. And just to let people know, I'm Kevin Brennan, no relation to the organiser of the petition. But I'm the MP for Cardiff West. I'm also a member of the Musicians Union and a musician myself. So I take a very active interest in this subject and other subjects related to music and the arts. And when he appeared before us last week, I asked him what his message would be, basically, to this gathering today on behalf of the government. And his message was that it is at the top of his in-tray. Well, that's all very well for it to be at the top of the in-tray. And the Prime Minister said he was working flat out on it as well. But nothing is happening. That's the problem. And nothing has been happening other than some scoping of the issue and some understanding of the scale of the issue of trying to organise this around 27 different EU member countries, the scale of the problems that people who want to tour are facing post-Brexit. And the problem is all of this should have been done before, quite clearly. And Ian's right, we shouldn't dwell too much on the past. And we are now no longer members of the European Union. But the fact is, in the Brexit negotiations, in the preparation, the government were warned in plenty of time that this would be a very, very real issue, and should have done all that preparatory work in advance, and should have negotiated something as part of the EU, the Brexit final agreement. That didn't happen, and since this issue has been raised, earlier in this year, I think the government basically have still simply been treading water, making very, very little progress indeed on it. Now, next month, on June the 10th, we finally managed to procure the attendance of Lord Frost, who's the government's chief Brexit negotiator, in front of our Select Committee, because there's a lot of passing of the buck going on around government in relation to this issue. But he is the person who's supposed to have principal responsibility for our negotiations with the European Union. The Secretary of State last week clarified that the work so far carried out by DCMS has been to understand the touring requirements. As I said, this is work that should have been done in any case, but ultimately they need sign-off in government, from the other departments, and in particular from the Cabinet Office and Lord Frost, to actually get to the negotiating table with the EU member states in order to sort this out. And so we'll be pressing our next task, if you like, will be to press Lord Frost very hard indeed when he appears before us on June the 10th. We also expect some further information from the Secretary of State, because at his appearance at our committee, he promised he'd give a written response to the opinion that the Incorporated Society of Musicians recently commissioned from a QC, which was a 5-point rebuttal, basically, of the government's argument in relation to touring, which was published in The Independent last week. And he's also due to write to the committee to outline what his understanding is of the current position around the 17 member states he claimed at our meeting, that there were reasonable arrangements in place already for people to be able to tour. So watch this space for all of that. But we, like this campaign, as a Select Committee, will be continuing to press and hold the government to account on this issue. And that's where Ian is absolutely right. We need a solution here. This, is far, far too important to the UK. The creative industries are the fastest growing sector of our economy. So it's not only the right thing to do because it is the right thing to do, it's also in Britain's economic interest to get this sorted out. And just good luck to everybody who's involved in the campaign. And I look forward to continuing working with you into the future.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Kevin. And